Howdy, and welcome back to the Ineligibles podcast. My name is Will Stone. He is Chase Caldwell, Hayden Garland, off camera, on mic, in the background, making sure we don't spend 30 minutes talking about Elon at Wake Forest. So we're very excited. It's finally here at long last. We get to, you know, for our sake, for A&M's sake, put 2022 officially in the past. Look forward to this season. Big things in store. This podcast seems to think so. Certainly, but yeah, we just appreciate you guys' support. Our numbers on downloads have been very strong the past few weeks. You know, it's just
Incredible.
the excitement of the season. You know, I think we've kind of upped our game, and definitely consistency and guests and things like that, and just tried to keep this thing on the rails. So thank you for your support. If you're not already, go like and subscribe at Ineligible Pod across all socials.
You can find us on YouTube if you like to indulge on YouTube. You can find us on Apple Podcasts if you like to listen there. And if you have an Android and you listen on Google Podcasts, you can do that. And Spotify too. We're on Spotify, yeah.
Also on Spotify.
Yeah, you're on Spotify. That's where I do my listening if I ever go back and listen. So definitely subscribe if you haven't already. We'd love to have you. It is week 1 of college football. Never thought this day would come.
It's week 1. It's game week for A&M. We're going to talk A&M a little bit later in the show, but we did have some football this past weekend, some college football, some watchable, like decently consumable college football this past weekend. I know you watched a little bit of that, Chase. So does anything stand out from this past weekend of the handful of games that we saw?
Yeah, looking at the slate of games going into the week, I was kind of thinking like, man, I wish week 0 had some better matchups than what they have, but it doesn't really matter. It's college football. I'm excited about it. I'm going to get excited about it. Going to watch anyways. And I would say I was pleasantly surprised at some of these games. Really, I've said this a couple times to you already, Will, but I watched the majority, if not all. I might have watched the whole UMass New Mexico State game, and that was a really fun game to watch. There's a lot of back and forth, really evenly matched teams, and so for that, like if you would have asked me last week, are you going to watch the UMass New Mexico State game? I probably would have told you no. I honestly happened to, just because it was on in the restaurant I was at, but then continued to watch once I got home because it was just such a fun game to watch. We saw some former and also current Aggies go in for New Mexico State, so that's always exciting, right? But that game was a lot of fun.
They're also the Aggies.
Yeah, they are, if you didn't already know that. The New Mexico State Aggies. So I taught my little niece how to say Gig'em Aggies, granted for the New Mexico State Aggies, but that was fun. Watch some Notre Dame Navy. Notre Dame, I mean, granted it's Navy, but they have some dangerous pieces. Their little running back, man, he's fantastic.
He's good. I thought he looked really good. Obviously, Sam Hartman, the transfer in from Wake Forest, was slinging it. They just look so competent on offense and very efficient. And like Notre Dame's had some good teams, but they haven't had a good quarterback, like at least to Hartman's level, in a long, long time. I'm still in wait and see on the Irish, but it's a performance that they have to feel good about in week 0 because Navy is not a pushover team.
And they came out strong. I don't feel like Notre Dame has done that in recent memory. A lot of times they come out and they win by the luck of the Irish. So I didn't see that this week. I mean, obviously they won 42-3. So they didn't struggle hardly at all. Looked really good over in Ireland. And I do like that we do that in college football. So that's another piece to it. Is it only Notre Dame that plays in Ireland, or do other teams play there?
So last season, week 0, it was, and it may have been the same venue. It may not have been, but I think it was Northwestern and Nebraska.
That's right.
And Northwestern had 0 wins on American soil, but they were 1-0 across the pond.
There you go. international legacies.
Yes.
That's what you call that.
Those people over there probably think Northwestern's like a powerhouse.
Oh man. Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool, just the idea of Notre Dame playing in Ireland. Not a if anything, I'm probably a Notre Dame hater, but for the sake of them being the Irish and being in Ireland, that's a cool storyline. I love storylines. That's what I like the most.
Yeah.
I didn't catch any of the USC San Jose State game. Did you watch any of that one?
Well, no, I did not because I don't have the Pac-12 network.
Oh, that's right.
I did catch some highlights. Caleb Williams was doing Caleb Williams things. It seemed very strong start from him. The young freshman, I think A&M recruited him and got him on campus, but couldn't close him. Obviously, he's a West Coast kid. Zachariah Branch, true freshman receiver, ran a kickoff back for touchdown, 100 yards. Had a couple other big plays. Really nice piece for them, but they did give up 28 points to San Jose State, who I don't think was expected to be very strong on offense. So maybe, like defense was obviously USC's problem last year. Maybe they're just knocking out the rust. They got some new guys in. They're figuring things out. I'm not gonna write them off, in week 0, and not it's not even week 1 yet. But just something to keep an eye on, something to monitor as we get into it. If they are still having trouble on defense, they still have one of the best offenses in the country. They can score with anybody, so they're definitely going to be a problem.
Yeah, I did look at adding the Pac-12 network to my TV system because they were running a deal. It was 50% off. You just had to sign a 10-year contract, and I wasn't sure about that.
They're like it's like Sirius XM. I tried to cancel my Sirius XM when I was in college, and they're like, "Oh, if you stay with us, you get 6 months free and 75% off. Like, please don't leave."
It's like somebody today still having an AOL membership that they pay $74 a year for or something.
I thought you were going to say AOL email address because we have friends that do have those.
Oh yeah. Shout out to George John Parker III, my boy Trey with a away message still aim.com. But yeah, no, I thought it was fun for week 0, but week 1 it's gonna be a lot of fun. We got a lot of good coming up here. So yeah, I really good kickoff, I think, for week 0. But I just can't get over the fact that we're coming into the college football season. It's exciting.
Yeah. Shout out to Hawaii for hanging with Vanderbilt. Like they had the ball with a chance to tie it up there at the end. Vanderbilt blew them out last year in Hawaii. So I thought this was going to be another bloodbath because I think Vanderbilt's improved a bit. But shout out to Hawaii. They came that's a long flight to get from Honolulu to Nashville, and they played pretty well. So hats off to them.
Especially considering all the stuff going on in Hawaii. Like there's no telling how much struggle that's been for them as a team. So yeah, good for them to play strongly this week, and hope they have a good season.
I could be wrong on this, and I wish I could fact check this right now, but I'm pretty sure that Vanderbilt said that all ticket sales and drink sales and all that stuff would go directly to Maui relief efforts, or it's something to that effect. Like something big happened over there with the game. So
that's good.
That's awesome. That's awesome for them to do that.
I would not put that past Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's good quality people over there, so I could very easily see them doing that. Which that's what we need for college football, right? Like there's enough money in it already. At least let it go to a good cause. So I hope you're right there. I'm sure you are. Just given Vanderbilt and good quality people there. They might not be all that great at football, but good people.
Yeah. But you're right. It is week 1 starting Thursday, and we have college football Thursday. We have college football Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, and then one game on Monday night. So there are 5 days in a row of legitimate college football you can watch on your television, even if you don't have the Pac-12 network. So anyone out there can watch these games.
And what's even better about that is most people don't have to go to work Sunday or Monday. So, it's a Labor Day weekend chock full of college football. So
So
take off on Friday, right? Like just take Friday off and there you go. Your weekend can start Thursday at 7 p.m.
yep, and starting Thursday, I think the game that stands out is kind of a banger. It's Florida at Utah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. That'll be a really good one to kick off the college football season, I feel like.
Yeah, like I feel like week ones have they've lost a little bit of luster in the past couple of years. Like you used to get these big like out of conference matchups at these neutral sites, which are kind of lame, but it's typically like a pretty good game. But
Yeah.
uh, this being on a Thursday is kind of surprising and kind of dangerous for Florida because uh, there was some crazy stat with Florida where like for out of conference games they never left the state for like 40 years in a row for an out of conference game. Like they would just play like the local schools. They'd play Miami or Florida State or whoever else. But this is very like this series was a big deal when it got scheduled. So Utah is a tough place to play. They're just a tough, hard nosed football team. Their quarterback, a little bit of concern with injury there, but I think top to bottom, I would favor Utah in this, especially with them playing at home. Florida's win total is like 5.5 on the year, which sounds very low, and it is very low. But if they're able to go out there and get a win, that could change their whole outlook on their season.
Oh, absolutely. And what a really good kickoff game to do that for them, right? You knock off number 14 team in the
Yeah,
nation, just to get started. One that I'm sure what's the line on that one? Do you know?
I think 6.5 in favor of Utah.
Yeah. So I would favor Utah, of course, for all the reasons you just named. Um, Being in Utah is a big deal for them. But I mean, Florida could do it. How do you think Florida's going to end up this year? I mean, what are you expecting from their team?
I'm pretty down on them, and it's so like they're in this weird like twilight hour place right now because they're recruiting exceptionally well right now, like top three, top four kind of class, like when it's all said and done. But if you win 5 games, can you hold on to all those guys?
Sure.
Um, A&M saw last year, like obviously we were in year 5, Billy Napier's in year 2 at Florida. Um, we had a good class, but not the class that we had signed, in the prior years. So I think if they can string together like maybe like if they can get to like 7 wins, like because their schedule's tough. Like they got Utah, they have Florida State, who's kind of back, like back to their prominence. They play Georgia, they play LSU. Like that's four. I don't want to say sure losses, but that's 4 tough games right there, and you still got to play, you know, Kentucky and Tennessee and like all these other teams. So it won't be easy, but just don't miss a bowl game, and I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Because especially whenever you're a second year head coach, you can really lean on that of, oh, well, that's why we're not where we want to be. And you can use that for your recruiting advantage. But I don't know. I could, Billy Napier is still a good coach. And
Yeah,
so I wouldn't write that game off at all. In fact, I think it'd be in some cases evenly matched. Evenly matched isn't fair. I give Utah the edge, but I think Florida will make it a competitive game regardless. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
yeah. I feel like Florida is like with Billy Napier. He's a coach that likes to play bully ball. He likes to run the football. Their quarterback situation isn't great, but their O line is decent. They have some good running backs. I'm intrigued about they've got a defensive tackle who came in at 400 pounds and gained weight up. He's up to 455, which I like. If you're a doctor, I'm aware that's not healthy, but I'm intrigued by how the kid plays at that size and
Yeah.
and
Oh
what and
my
what that looks like on
God.
a football field. But he's a massive human being. He actually moves pretty well for being that size. So just a interesting storyline to note. If you turn on the TV on Thursday and you say, "Oh my God, who the heck is that guy? He's taking up 3 gaps."
No kidding. Good.
That's
Lord.
who it is.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. I can't wait to see him.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like that's definitely the marquee game on Thursday. Just kind of going down the list, trying to find something else to be excited about. Nebraska at Minnesota, conference game, Big Ten game on Fox. Some turnover at each of those places in different ways. New quarterback at Minnesota, new coach, and new everything at Nebraska. Could be interesting. But aside from that, it's a lot of smaller schools, FCS schools playing Power 5 teams and things like that.
Yeah. So what about Friday? What do we got on Friday?
Sorry, I've got a note that also St. Francis, our team that we talked about last year, this time.
Oh yeah.
They play on Thursday. So
Oh good.
The Friars, I think, something to that effect.
Are they on the Pac-12 network?
They're on ESPN Plus, so I could actually watch them. Yeah.
Good for them.
Friday, first day of September. Our week 2 opponent plays this day against the other Miami. Fun fact, Miami, Ohio is not in a town called Miami. It's in a town called Oxford.
I saw your tweet about that this week, and I didn't know that either. But then it just really, I never did go and do this, but I'd love to know the story of Miami, Ohio. Where did that name come from?
Yeah,
like
it's got to be like a founding member or something.
Yeah,
like had the last name Miami.
Were they like the Houston Oilers and they started in Miami and then got pissed off at the city and just moved to a completely different state altogether?
Yeah, or maybe Drake Nando. I know he loves Miami. He just got there. He's like, this is gonna be Miami University. But in terms of games that we're actually going to talk about, I mean, I am intrigued to see what Miami looks like because we're playing them the very next week. But
sure,
Louisville at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech has 3 or 4 A&M transfers.
Yeah, I was going to say because they got Haynes King, Chase Lane,
yeah, Andre White.
Yeah, and then
that may be it.
Who's their running back? Do they still have that running back that we really wanted, or did he seem like he transferred?
Yeah, he was at Alabama last year.
Yeah, that's right. Never mind.
And now yeah. Although I've got to give props to me and you for liking that kid early because he was picked 12th overall in the NFL draft back in April. So Jason will have an eye for talent, guys.
We know football. Let me tell you. The 8 people listening, you came to the right place.
Yeah,
we'll find you the next guy up.
Yeah, you can't get this info anywhere else. But like on a pretty like lackluster night, I'm pretty intrigued by Louisville at Georgia Tech. Louisville, like from listening to some other outlets, their schedule seems to be pretty easy. They actually had a coach leave for another job and upgrade, which happens very rarely. But they have Jeff Brahman there now. He played there. They love him. They're excited. They're thinking 9 wins this year at Louisville. Pretty easy schedule. They dodge all the big boys in that conference. So don't go to Georgia Tech and lay an egg in week 1. This is a road game. Haynes King was named the starter. Potentially dangerous quarterback for the Yellow Jackets. So it'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to that one.
Oh, I'm 100% a Yellow Jacket on this game. I'm all for the upset here.
A&M really, East.
I liked all 3 of those guys at A&M. Still am a big supporter of them and would love to see them succeed there. And yeah, I think all A&M fans should be Georgia Tech fans this year too. So looking forward to that one. But any others on Friday?
I'll definitely watch Stanford at Hawaii. I think Stanford's pretty bad, with the exception of EJ Smith. He's probably the bright spot on that team. Hawaii could get a win there. They did some work in the portal. Their quarterback played very, very well last week. Definitely going to watch that one. Probably going to watch it with you if you're coming down that night. Which
we'll
talk about that later.
We do need to talk about that.
That one's on CBS Sports Network. Switching gears to Saturday, lots of games on this slate with 28-point spreads. I was picking the games for our pick'em earlier today, and I was like, which 28 spread game do I want? Do I want, Tennessee, Virginia? Do I want Indiana, Ohio State? Do I want Michigan, East Carolina? I left that one out. Don't want to watch Michigan, East Carolina, but I'm intrigued by Tennessee. New quarterback, new offense with some receivers going to the NFL. Another A&M opponent who looks to be very good, ranked number 12 to start the year. Just see what they look like. But what has my curiosity and my attention is Colorado at TCU. I feel like you have thoughts on this. I'm just going to let you go.
Yeah, Big 12 matchup, right?
That's right. Future rivalry right here.
No, I'm super curious to see what Colorado's going to look like with Prime, right? Can he replicate what Lane Kiffin has been good at doing, what Lincoln Riley has been good at doing, and just completely gut a team as a brand new coach, transfer a whole new team in, and then win right away? That's what I'm curious to see. It obviously worked with Lincoln Riley at USC. He just took his whole team with him when he left. And I think Prime took a couple guys with him as well, that probably the best bright spots of his team. And so yeah, curious to see what Colorado looks like, and TCU. I mean, I think they're coming off a great season, decent season, I guess, if you want to call it that. But how did they end up at number 17? That's what I want to know.
So I'm kind of torn on them because like I could see it both ways. Like I could see a world where TCU finishes unranked altogether. I could also see a world where I could see a world where they finish top 10 again, just because you've got to tip your hat. They're like, obviously Garrett Riley has gone to Clemson, Max Duggan, and a lot of those guys from that team that were so good have gone on to the next level. They got some good transfers. They got JoJo Earl to transfer from Alabama.
Yeah.
They've got some good running backs. There's I think Josh Newton is a cornerback that is looked at pretty highly among NFL scouts. But to me, it just seems like they kind of had lightning in a bottle last year, and a lot of things broke their way, and they had a terrific year.
Yeah.
They could still be a good team and go like 8-4,
I think so. So that's where I don't really think it's fair for them to be outside of the top 10 to at least start the season. I think they at least earned that, but I mean, definitely think that there's question marks there, but for them to have had such a Cinderella season last year, especially coming off a 5-7 year, sure, they probably did catch lightning in a bottle, but at least give them the benefit of the doubt to start the year. And that's kind of, I don't know. I think there's both teams in that scenario, right, are two teams that I just have no idea what to expect. And so that's what makes me excited to watch that game, is simply because like that's what I love about college football. I love the complete unknowns. I say it all the time, of it's a future Hall of Famer going up a future lawyer, and then a guy over here that got his degree in psychology and is going to maybe go be a teacher later on. Like, everybody's wide range of different people out there on the field. And so that's epitomizing that game, I feel like.
Well, and Colorado is like such a fascinating case study, because I don't think ever in the history of college football has a team brought in like 65 new players in an offseason. Like, that's just never happened. Like, maybe it's been 40, 45, but 65. It's the entire team. Like,
hey, who cares about initial counters anymore, right? Like,
that's a thing in the past. Can you imagine if that was a rule?
Oh,
they'd have like 30 players.
That's what I'm saying. Like, thank God for him that's gone, because otherwise, what would you do here?
And what's crazy is if it works. I mean, like, hey, we went and got guys from 60 different places, and we had a bowl team or like a 7-win football team.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, I'm gonna throw Sutton's comment up here. What do we think about Deion Sun at quarterback in a Power 5 conference?
So I'll be honest, I don't know a ton about him to be honest, but from a few people I've talked to, they think he's legit. Uh, and we talked about Travis Hunter on this show, who was the number one player in the country in 22, receiver and DB. If is he going to do both? If he's a full time receiver, they also got some guys, from at receiver from the portal, which I mean you could say that for every position, but who are talented. So he should have a nice cast around him.
Mhm.
I really don't know what to predict with him, but it's an interesting dynamic because you see head coach and quarterback son at the high school level like everywhere.
Yeah.
You don't see it in college hardly ever. So
Right.
it's very fascinating to watch.
Yeah, no, Sutton, I'm gonna call it a word. It's called nepotism. And the thing about nepotism is you don't know if he actually earned it or if he just got it because of his last name or who his
Yeah.
daddy is, you know. So I think it's we'll have to see. Is it nepotism? Is it not? I'm sure the kid's a good quality quarterback. I'm sure he'll probably do just fine. I do like the dynamic of son dad combo at the collegiate level, like you're saying. That would be cool. And I think he's probably a good quarterback. To your point about Travis Hunter, I think they're going to play him wherever they need him. And I could definitely see them just playing him at receiver this year. There's no way he plays both places. It's kind of like asking like every junior in high school is getting a double major when they go to college, right? Like, did you plan on getting a double major when you went to college? Like, I feel like
Yeah.
every junior in high school, like you just assume that makes you like a higher level. Is like, well, I'm going to double major in this and that. No, you're not. You're going to get there and you're going to realize, oh, I need to focus on one thing or the other, because if I try to focus on two completely different things, I'm not going to be successful. And so I think that's the case with Travis Hunter. He needed to grow up a little bit and understand that just doesn't happen nowadays.
Just to put into perspective, and this is like very like back of the napkin math, but if he were to play full time at receiver and defensive back, and I think Colorado's going to be a team that runs some tempo and pushes the pace a little bit, he would probably play like 1,400 snaps in a season if he did that, which
Yeah.
is just like an astronomical amount. Like the highest, like I'll get on PFF and I'll see, an 800 here or there for like a safety that just never came off the field. But 1,400, like I don't care how good a shape you're in, like
Yeah.
it's just not reasonable to expect that. But
That's like 55 minutes a game.
pretty much, yeah. The last thing I'll say here, to bring it back to TCU a little bit, they're going to start Chandler Morris at quarterback, son of Chad Morris, the former Arkansas head coach. Chandler Morris won that job last year, and like he was their starting quarterback entering the season, and then he got hurt against Colorado when they played him last year, and then Max Duggan got the job back, and the rest is history. So
That's
if
interesting.
you want to spin it in a positive light, if you're a TCU fan, like you're thinking, hey, we were so good last year, but our coaches actually picked this other guy over
Yeah,
our
with our
quarterback
backup
we
quarterback.
had.
That's
Yeah.
that's an interesting dynamic there.
Yeah. Going to the rest of the day, so that one's at 11 a.m. Along with some of those blowouts that I mentioned. I'm trying to find the next one. Ohio State, Indiana's at 2:30. They'll blow them out. Here we go. South Carolina. Hang on, let me find it. So North Carolina's at South Carolina. Regional rivalry there with the two
Mhm.
state schools from those states. North Carolina ranked 21, future top 3, top 5 pick at quarterback in Drake May. South Carolina had a really awesome finish to the year last year. knocked off Tennessee, knocked off Clemson, you know, took Notre Dame to the wire in the bowl game. But some of their losses in the portal and to the NFL um, are really making me pause on them until I see more. North Carolina, on the other hand, I don't think they finish ranked, and I know that's crazy because their quarterback is so good, but you know their best receivers are now in the NFL. They went and got a stud from the portal, and they declared him ineligible. The NCAA did. They
Ooh.
could overturn that. I hope they do, but because he's a great player. But defensively, like they weren't very good. They lost, a lot of guys on defense as well to the portal. So like maybe I'm missing something, and maybe they brought some guys in that I don't know about, and they could bounce back, and maybe Mac Brown and that staff have got it together. But like in terms of this game, I have no idea who to pick in this game. Like I would lean
That's
North Carolina just because of the quarterback, but it's tough.
that's what I was gonna kind of say. These are I'd say teams that are on equal footing because North Carolina was good and is on their way down, I feel like, where South Carolina wasn't and is on their way up. And I feel like they're at this crossroads where they're both about the same talent level. So it should make for a good game. But whether or not these two teams end up in any kind of contention towards the end of the year, I don't expect. Um, but I do like what South Carolina's doing. I do think that they're on the up and up. I think this is a good 8-4 season for them, maybe. And I think this would be a solid win for them to come out and win that game. But at the end of the day, I also don't count Mac Brown out. And I feel like he does have a tendency, or at least he has at North Carolina, to do less with more or more with less. So I think you could. I wouldn't count him out completely, but I do think this will be a nice, evenly matched game that we probably won't even remember at the end of the season.
Right. Yeah. And like for all the reasons that we just said, like it should be entertaining to watch because they are so closely matched. There should be some good quarterback play and like I think a lot of passion in this game. And like both sides want desperately to beat the other, more so than your typical college game. So I'm kind of bummed it's during ours. So like I'm just gonna have to be like following along like on my phone or something during our game. So
Or in the
but
Letterman's Lounge.
that's true. Yeah. Or I mean, we could just watch the replay on the drive home.
Yeah,
So,
it might get way hot in there, so we might be in the Letterman's Lounge the whole time.
yeah, but that one's kind of the highlight of the day for me, just from a pure football watching standpoint. I'm intrigued by Penn State, West Virginia. They host West Virginia. Penn State number 7, a team that I've really bought in on this offseason. I think they make the playoff this year. I just want to see what they look like. A lot of guys on that team are picked to go in the first couple rounds of the NFL draft. Their quarterback, true sophomore, former 5-star. Him and Connor were and Cade Klubnik as well were 3 of the 5 stars in that class at quarterback. So super interesting to watch, like how that pans out. I'm always intrigued by the 5 stars in each class at quarterback and what they end up doing. So I'm watching them. I hope see if they look strong. Curious if West Virginia can put up a fight. But later that night, how about the Sam Houston State Bearcats officially joining the FBS this season? Their first official FBS game is at BYU at 9:15 on FS1. So
Really,
Bearcat.
this news has bypassed me. I didn't realize that this was happening.
It's so like realignment at the lower levels. Like everyone talks about OU and Texas to the or to the SEC, but like on the lower levels, like the Conference USA is flipped completely. like half of their teams left for the American. 1 or 2 went to the Sun Belt, and then they added. Like Jacksonville State played this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the FBS now. They've been an FCS power. They played UTEP. That was a conference game. Like
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's wild to think about. Like if you pull up a map of Conference USA just on Google and just see all the teams that are in it now, it's just really funny to look at because it's not what you would expect. But
Sure.
But Sam Houston, yeah, they're at the big boy table now. Like
There we go.
they're no longer an FCS team. So shout out to any Bearcats out there. welcome to the party. We're excited to have you also. What sucks, and it's this way for James Madison too, who came up last year, is they can't go to a bowl game this year, even if they win 6 games, which is so stupid. But hopefully they win 6 and they change the rule. I don't know what they would do in that case, but I'm pulling for you, Bearcats.
Yeah, that's a very stupid rule, but whatever.
Yeah.
Not my school, not my problem. That's what I
right.
like to say.
So that's Saturday. There's some decent teams there. There's decent games there that we talked about. Got a question from Jonathan. He asked about if Coach Prime is going to show out against TCU. We just spent a really good chunk talking about that. I think you can rewind on here. I don't know
if you can rewind about 10 minutes, and you'll hear a good piece on that.
Yeah, had a lot to say about that.
But I think to answer your question, Jonathan, I think it'll be a very fun game to watch. To put it condensed, be a fun game to watch because there's just a ton of unknowns on both sides of the coin. So definitely a game we will be tuning into.
So Sunday, typically they've had like one Sunday game, and it was always at night, and then one Monday night. And this year they decided to put 3 on Sunday. So now you have a whole day of, it's the Sunday before the NFL starts, so they can do this and get away with it. Very smart by college football to do this.
For sure.
Because they do it to us, so we're going to do it to them.
Absolutely.
Northwestern at Rutgers, another Big Ten conference game. Story of the 2-10 teams this year. I was gonna
say that is a Big Ten conference game right there, boys.
Yeah, it's I'm probably gonna watch it just because I'm a college football sicko, but it's kind of fun to watch teams that aren't very good sometimes, just to see which one can outdo the other.
Yep.
2:30. These are both on CBS actually. 2:30. Ranked Oregon State, the 18th ranked Oregon State Beavers with DJ Uiagalelei at quarterback coming over from Clemson. They're on the road at San Jose State for some reason. I don't know why they're playing on the road. But interesting case study with them playing with San Jose State playing USC last week, Oregon State this week. Like if Oregon State goes in there and blanks them like 49-0, like what does that say about USC that they gave up 28 points?
Oregon State's going to run the Pac-12 this year. Watch.
They probably will, and I'm here for it. If there's one thing I'm here for in 2023, it is Oregon State winning the Pac-12 in the last year of its existence.
That eternal scoreboard for all the teams that left them.
Yep.
That'd be good. I'm pulling for them.
Yeah.
Go Beavers.
I actually do like not to talk about that for too long. I do like their coach a lot. Like last year against Oregon, they're.
Oh yeah, they almost beat Oregon last year.
They did beat Oregon last year.
They did beat Oregon last year. You're right.
And
but then they almost beat USC last year too, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
that game was like it was like a 3-point loss, I think.
Yeah.
So tough team, and like that's kind of their style. Like they run the ball a ton, and last year when they played Oregon, they ran inside zone 16 times in a row because Oregon just couldn't stop it. So like, hey, we're just gonna keep running up the middle and make you stop it. So,
all right, I'm bought in. I'm going all Oregon State, all Georgia Tech this year. Those are my 2 teams.
Let's go.
Let's
Beavers and Yellow Jackets in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Haynes King against A&M in the playoff. Can't even imagine. Honestly, the game of the entire weekend for me that like I'm going to be eyes glued to the television for 3.5 hours straight is LSU and Florida State. The only bummer here is it's neutral site. It's in Orlando and not in Tallahassee. This is a top 10 matchup. This is number 5 LSU and number 8 Florida State. Both very, very high quality teams. I think they're ranked appropriately. Both fan bases are, kind of gunning for a playoff spot this year. So that's something to watch. 1 second for technical difficulties.
Unexpected Hayden.
Unexpected Hayden.
Nobody ever expects Hayden.
Oh.
Hey, I'm here.
Okay, you're back. You're back.
I'm
Sorry
very
for
glad
technical difficulties, people.
I'm very glad I was paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't even buffer it. Like Chase just fell out. He was gone.
Yeah, more on that later. Anyways, so sorry to interrupt you, Will. LSU, Florida State. Let's go.
No, I think both are very talented. This is going to be a highly competitive game, like a playoff, like a semifinal esque style game. I'm thrilled to watch it. I really can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm not bought in on Florida State. That's one team that I'm just not all in on this year. And everybody else seems to be. Like, if I'm watching any of the college football programs, it just seems like they're just Florida State's going to do it. This is the year for them. I just don't see that. I'm not bought in on them yet. So
Yeah,
they'll have to prove something to me by at least hanging pretty tough with LSU. But quite frankly, for me at this point, I'm calling this an LSU blowout. I think LSU comes in and just crushes Florida State this game. I think it's a game that we're all going to be excited for going into it, and it's going to get to halftime and we're bored of it. That's my personal take on it, but I could be dead completely wrong. Like I might be way off base, but I'm just not bought in Florida State yet.
that totally could happen. Because I think like the really self-aware Florida State fans, they think that they have a really good team and that they have a good chance to make the playoff but not win it. Like they think that they're good enough to like kind of compete and be in the mix, but not enough real like high end talent to kind of cross the goal line there.
Yeah.
They've
Like an
got a
8-4,
very-
9-3 team is what I feel like they are, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, and like, well, in the month of September they play LSU and Clemson, so we're gonna find out very quickly.
Yeah, we'll know very quickly. Yeah.
So like that's like September is their season. Like that is like if you want to be in the playoff, like you gotta do it in that month. So, but I like what they've got. They have a very good college quarterback in Jordan Travis. Good running back. Their O line has improved tremendously from where it was 5-6 years ago. I like the receivers. They went and got Keon Coleman from the portal. He's a nice receiver. They got Jared Verse to come back to school. Their highly touted defensive end. Their defense, I think, is solid, but definitely more of an offensive team, in my opinion. And LSU, like, I think their secondary is kind of suspect, which they typically aren't. Like LSU is one of the schools that claims to be DBU. They put out,
and they have a pretty good claim to that.
They do, absolutely. But like this year's team doesn't, and
Right.
they could get there. Like they brought in some guys as well from the portal. So
yeah, but some of the guys that they brought in from the portal didn't pan out for them either, did they?
That's also true.
So but yeah, I'm with you. I think this could be an offensive matchup. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I like her. I like Harold Perkins a lot, but
Mhm.
and I'm sure they're going to use him in creative ways. But last year he was like strictly an edge player, and now he's playing middle linebacker. And maybe the plan is just like on first and second down, he's a middle linebacker, and on third downs he rushes the passer, something like that.
Sure.
But I think his best skill is his ability to get after quarterbacks. They've got two great defensive tackles. One of them can't play in this game, Mason Smith. But they've got some guys there. LSU's receivers are very, very good. Their O line is pretty solid. Jaden Daniels, good dual threat quarterback. It's pretty evenly matched. Like I'm having a hard time really picking one. I think the line is LSU -2.5. So I'm leaning Florida State at least on the points, but man, it's a coin flip game.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. This is the first one that I feel like we're opposed, and that's simply just because of my thoughts on Florida State. But the chances are you're probably more right than me. But I don't know. I feel like this is going to be the one this week that we look at, at the end of the week and be like, man, we thought that was going to be a great matchup, and it was not.
Yeah. And I know you said you think LSU blows them out. That's the more likely of the two scenarios, but my preferred would be that Florida State runs LSU out of the stadium and
Sure.
and LSU is exposed as frauds. But I don't think it's going to be the case in this instance. So that's game of the week right there. But last game of the week is on Monday night. The last Monday night without NFL football, and it's Clemson at Duke. The Fighting Mike Elkos. Mike Elko is just a hell of a football coach, and I would kill to have him back as our DC. You know, like bar none. Like he was incredible here. He's an incredible head coach at Duke. Won 9 games his first season. That doesn't happen there very often. This line is not that big. It's like 12.5. Like in years past, it'd be like Clemson minus 24 or minus 28. And, this year it's a lot tighter than that. Duke's going to come to play. It's a home game for Duke. So very intrigued, if Clemson goes in there and screws around. Mentioned earlier that they have Cade Klubnik at quarterback, former 5-star and former Westlake QB here in the Austin area. So Clemson, I'm really iffy on. I just don't know if, is the Clemson era, is it over? Is it descending, or are they just about to catch a second wind? I don't really know, but big season for them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think this season is going to be the one that tells all, right? I think if you do see a Florida State uptick this year, they're going to take down Clemson. I could see Mike Elko and the Duke Blue Devils putting it together against him, because I feel like Clemson, like where I do have faith in Clemson is in their offense. Like you mentioned, Cade Klubnik, like he's a great quarterback. I think they have some really good offensive weapons, but their defense has been a big question mark to me ever since their defensive coordinator left. What's his name? Over
Venables.
Oklahoma. Yeah, Venables left. I thought he was one of the top defensive coordinators in the country, if
easily.
not the top in the country. So, even if they have a good defensive coordinator, I don't think that they'll ever be quite as good as they were with him at the helm. And so I think the strengths that you have there. Now, granted, I don't know Duke's team all that well, but I know that Mike Elko is going to have a good defense. That's one thing that I do know. And so I think in terms of the strengths that I might know about each team, I think Clemson's strength is in the offense, Duke's would be in the defense. Maybe it's a good matchup, right?
This is about to blow your mind, but so I don't know if this guy is starting for Duke, but I know he's on their roster because I know he transferred there. But former Aggie defensive back Miles Jones transferred to Duke.
Are you serious?
I am dead serious. He still has a year of eligibility.
That dude's working on his second PhD. Good for him.
I think this is legit like his 8th season in college football.
I'm pretty sure that he might have been a senior in high school. I could almost swear that he was a freshman during my last season of my master's, which would have been 2016.
So I think he was a freshman the year that we blew the lead to UCLA. So I think that was 17.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay.
So that was his true freshman year.
Okay. Yeah. That would make sense. That's about the same time frame in my mind. Maybe I'm a year off there. But that would have been when I really started following A&M football from the fan perspective really closely, because I was at the Deerleys for that game, and yeah.
Yeah, so he played college football under Kevin Sumlin, and now he's still around, and he's at Duke under, like, we've had a guy come in as defensive coordinator and leave as a head coach, and a year in between, and then go over there. So it's like I hope he does it. I hope he goes over there and just has a great year.
Me too. That dude, I've always been his biggest supporter. I think that guy is awesome. So.
Also, I love the quarterback at Duke. His name is Riley Leonard. He's on Hayden's fantasy team. Great pickup, Hayden. He's just a good ball player, kind of a dual threat guy. Got a lot of grit, but excited to watch that one. But that kind of wraps it up on week one talk, non A&M talk with regards to college football. Overall, pretty solid slate, but really, it's just it's just getting in there and seeing what these teams are about, and like are these teams what we thought they were, or
Yeah.
like who disappoints, who surprises, and like there's always something crazy that happens, and that's what we're here for. We're here to enjoy that.
Absolutely.
But let's turn the last 10 or so minutes over to A&M. Home opener, season opener against New Mexico. We actually played them a couple years ago, when the year that Calzada started. Did not beat them the way that we should, so hopefully a little bit better outcome this year. But is there anything that you're looking for, just kind of overall, or anything specific that you're looking for?
I'm looking to watch the fighting Texas Aggies go on to the football playing field. No, I am. There's a lot that I'm looking for, but probably not as much as I feel like some people are looking for. I've said that in a few past episodes, but I'm not looking to see an overhauled offense in this game. I'm not looking to see a completely different team in this game than what we've seen in the past. I'm looking for a couple of exciting plays, a little bit of motion on offense, a little bit like minute changes, like minimal changes that if you're not a college football sicko, right, that you probably wouldn't even notice. But maybe enough to where the average fan might get a little bit more excited than they have in years past of the boring games of Jimbo's tenure. So I think that's what I'm expecting. Really, I'm expecting to see us tighten up the running game, because or tighten up on defense, run defense. I want to see us tighten that up. I think we absolutely will, and against New Mexico, but want to get some fresh faces out there, get a good rotation going on defense. But really, offense, I think that's what everybody's eyes are on. And like I said in other episodes, I've already said it here. I don't expect that we're going to come out and watch a 70-point game by A&M. I just don't think that that's going to happen. I don't think you're going to see a Mike Leach team run onto the field and us just air raid all day long and just blow them out of the water. I'm just not looking for that. And I think I would say if you're looking for that in this game, you're going to be disappointed. I know as much as you do listening, right? That we haven't really seen this year's team yet, so I could be wrong. But my expectations are I want to see a Jimbo offense go out there, run their scheme the way that they need to. And if we need to add a couple of wrinkles here and there from Petrino, we do it. And as long as we do that, I'm perfectly happy with this game.
So I think the only thing I would like tweak there is, from everything that I've heard, I think it's completely Petrino's offense. But I think it's very similar in a lot likes to do that. I think you're right. Like the average fan is going to be like, oh, well, like these plays are working. Like, why didn't they work before?
Mhm.
Well, there's probably a lot of reasons for that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I think, in terms of teaching, the offense and maybe trimming it down some, or game planning and things like that. I think it's what it's what the average fan and like it's what you and me, like, we're not really aware of. Like, we're not aware of what goes on in those meeting rooms with those coaches. And I
Mhm.
think they've put in a lot of work this offseason, and I think we'll be pleasantly surprised. Not to the tune of 70 points, but I think we can go out there and score like 52 or something like that. Maybe get a defensive score here or there, but
I mean that's fair, and I'm not saying that it's Jimbo's offense. So I'm glad you caught that, because that's not what I meant. And so I want to clarify. Of I do think you see a different offense come onto the field this year, and one that is really Petrino-fied, right? I don't think that you need an overhaul of the offense against New Mexico. And so I don't think that you see Like if we come out and we don't just blow them out, 52 points, I think that's absolutely possible for the team that we're going to put on the field. But I also think that we might end up winning this game 35-3 and run off of that. And I wouldn't be disappointed with that. I would be, happy. I want to see us keep them out of the end zone. I'd love a shutout. I'll always love a shutout. But I want to see a strong defense, and I want to see an offense play their game with good consistency on each drive and a good scheme that might be a 6 or 7 minute drive, right? And if it's a 6 or 7 minute drive, that's not going to disappoint me like it might other people, because I feel like there's just this perception from people that we're going to come out and we're never going to run the ball. We're going to air it out every single play.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of my point, is like, don't think that we're going to come out here and it's just going to be, a Sumlin team that we're just airing it out all the time and scrambling the quarterback every play and all of that. I just think I think it's going to be a true pro style that we're going to add some good routes here and there. And really, I'm going to add one more thing to that. Sorry, I'm rambling here, but something I would love to see, that I really want to see this week, next week, and all through this season, is wide receiver rotation. I want to see us move guys on and off the field constantly. I want to see fresh guys in there at all points in time. I don't want to run with the same receivers until the fourth quarter. I just don't want to see that happen. And I don't want to see us run with the same starting receivers until we're up by 5 scores. I don't want to see that either. I want to see a constant rotation throughout the game. And I think Petrino is going to be a lot better at doing that than Jimbo is.
So I think to tack onto that a little bit, because I think we will see that. Like, I think they've probably got 5 or 6 guys at receiver that they feel comfortable with, and probably 3 tight ends and 3 running backs. So I think you see a lot of different skill guys get in the game, like when it's still in the first half.
Yeah.
But something that kind of popped in my head when you were saying that was, I think you see like the same receivers on the field line up in different ways. Like,
Sure.
like it's not like, oh, like Noah Thomas is our X, we're going to line him up at X every play, and Ainias is our slot, he's going to be our slot every play. Like, you're going to see them, move guys around. You might see Noah Thomas in the slot one play, see him, like on his own out wide on another play, and you're going to see more just kind of differing formations and things of that nature, just to get good matchups and things like that. But I think you do also see like, hey, like let's put Moose in now, or let's give Evan a break, put Jade Walker in there.
Yeah.
I think you see things like that.
Yeah, like so this just popped in my head, but I Petrino's big thing is feed the studs, right? Give it to the studs, feed the studs. Yeah. We have a lot of studs on offense, and I don't think we've done a good job of that in recent years. They got to eat. But Jimbo's thing, and I wouldn't say that Jimbo doesn't try to feed the studs, but he does it so obviously that you could know nothing about offensive scheme, and you still know that he's trying to get the ball to Yul Keith Brown. We're finally up by 4 or 5 scores, so now we're going to put in the second team, and we want to see how Yul Keith does. So we run a screen to Yul Keith, and he drops the ball. So then the next one we do a quick slant to Yul Keith, and he drops the ball. So then we do an end around to Yul Keith, and it's like, okay, Jimbo, like just naturally give it to him and run it with somebody else. Like, don't just. I mean, he literally watching his teams play sometimes is like watching a baby just try to put a square peg in a round hole, literally. And so it's like I think that you'll have a more organic offense with Petrino, and I obviously, like, Jimbo only does that whenever we're way ahead and we really don't have to worry about losing the game. But like, we should be doing that intermittently through all of our games, because maybe we have a second string guy that's just hot today, and we can get it to him, and before you know it, by the end of the game, he's our leading touchdown receiver, because we decided to put him in the first quarter instead of waiting until the fourth quarter before he saw the field, and then blocking him every play. So I think that's what I am hoping to see. That will make me feel, if all else is the same, if everything looks the same, if our run defense is still somewhat porous, if our offense is super slow and we run the clock down to 0 seconds every single play, and we do all of that, but we sub in our skill guys constantly throughout the game, I'm happy, because I think that's the number one thing that we haven't done in the past couple of years that has driven everybody crazy, not just me.
Yeah.
And so, but in addition to that, I'd like to see us sub those guys in. I'd like to see, some new excitement to the offense, some hurry up, not necessarily full tempo, but I mean, I think a lot of the reason people ever hated on Kellen was because it just looked like he was just bored all the time, because it took us so long to get a playoff. And I don't even think that was his fault. I think that was just what he was coached to do. But he got he got the brunt of that, right? So I think I'd like to see us hurry to the ball a little bit more. I'd like to see just a sense of excitement around the offensive side of the ball, and I want to see a strong defense. It's New Mexico. We need to have a strong defense with the guys that we have. There's no reason why they score.
Yeah. So there's two main things that I want to see, and it really echoes a lot of what you said there. And number one, I want to see an offense that is confident in what it's doing. You don't have half the guys running one play and half the guys running another because they don't know what the calls are, and they've had to memorize a billion plays, so they don't know which one that we're running.
Yeah.
I think those days are over. I think what you're going to see and what I want to see and expect to see is an offense that is confident, that is not like, they don't look panicked. They don't look like it's hard for them. Like it's like scoring points is like pulling teeth, and it just looks like natural and easy and efficient. I want to see an efficient, well put together offense, because there's no reason we can't have one. And I think we brought in the guy to orchestrate that. And I'm just excited to see like all those guys individually, and Connor. We didn't even say this. Connor's officially the starting quarterback.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 1 hour and 2 minutes in.
Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Connor is the starter. We all thought that all along. It sounds like he wasn't given this job. He did go out there and earn it. Max has played well. Connor has taken it up to a new level. So I'm pumped to watch him. Pumped to see these receivers, these running backs, these young linemen. But the second thing that I want to see is I want to see this defensive line be truly dominant, because what I'm basing a lot of my prediction on about A&M being good this year is, probably their most talented position group, the defensive line, dominating SEC O-lines. So if you can't dominate New Mexico's offensive line to a significant degree, then I'm dropping my prediction down to 8 wins or 7 wins, because there's no reason on the planet that these guys, these 12, 13 guys that are all-stars, can't go out there and dominate. I think we're going to see that. I think, whoever New Mexico's quarterback is going to be running for his life. I think their run game will be stifled. Even if they get a chunk play here and there, I think on the whole, the defensive line will dominate. Hayden asked us in the private chat, like, what would it take for y'all to be worried? And the biggest thing to me is giving up sacks. I think you think back to 2019 when we played Kent State. They had pressure on Kellen all day, and not Kent State, sorry, Texas State. They were all over Kellen, and just was a very bad omen for what was to come that season. I think this O-line could be very good with what they've got. I think they have some real depth finally. Sounds like Chase Basantis is your starting right tackle for this game as Ruben works his way back from injury. I think he could be a phenomenal player. So there's some real talent, some real depth there. But I want to see them, play to their ability and play together and not make dumb mistakes. So,
Yeah.
I think that's what we see. I obviously hope it's what we see. If Connor is running for his life, if Connor gets sacked 4 or 5 times, then yeah, I'll be on here next week. I'm gonna say, hey guys, sorry I led y'all astray. We will not be winning 10 games.
We're
only gonna
going
win
6-6. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
I don't expect that to happen.
I don't either at all. I think we go out there, and I legit think it's like a 52-3 type game.
Yeah.
It's 31-0 at halftime, and we're happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's interesting is that Jimbo has never started a season good. Like, we never lose, but like Vanderbilt 17-12 could have lost that game.
Yeah.
Texas State didn't cover. Kent State, it was 10-3 at halftime. Who did we play last year? Sam, we scored, it was like 30-0. It was
Yeah.
ugly as all get out. So go out there and dominate and have people around the country saying, oh, A&M, they took care of business. They might be pretty good this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we see.
Yep.
But
I'm just, we've spent, since the clock hit 0 against LSU, we've been like, man, we've got to right the ship next year. We got to, do certain things and get, get to a certain point to take care of business. What I've seen up to this point, what the changes that we made, who we brought in, and how the guys have progressed, it's super encouraging, and this team could be like as good as they want to be.
absolutely.
The talent level's there. It's the quarterback is there. You just got to go out and do it. So it's time to talking season is officially over, and football season is here.
Absolutely. 4 days.
4 days. 3 days if you're on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, whatever.
2 days if it's Thursday when you're listening to this, and 1 day if it's Friday. And today, if you're listening to this on Saturday on your way to the game, it's game day. Get up. Play the Noblemen of Kyle as loud as you possibly can. And
Bum, bum.
bum, 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 bum. You know that'll be playing. You'll get a Snapchat from me saying, bum, bum, it's game day. Let's go.
Yeah,
We're
that's going
back.
on my story Saturday morning.
Absolutely. It might go on our story if you follow us at Ineligible Podcast on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. It might go on all of them. You can't ever tell.
Yeah.
I might go live on YouTube just to be like, bum, 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 bum.
Oh,
I know Sutton's dying right now. I guarantee Sutton's going to blast that as soon as we're off of here. I will too, Sutton. You and me both.
For Hayden Garland, for Chase Caldwell, I am Will Stone. This is the Ineligibles Podcast. Beat the hell out of New Mexico.
Gigamaggies.